Today is about a lot of things. It's about interaction, it's about collaboration, it's about input, and we're going to talk a whole lot about that in just a moment. I'm David Adams, the CEO for the Niagara Parks Commission. I have the distinct pleasure of being today's moderator on the panel. And I want to hear a round of applause for the team at the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. Round of applause. They have worked so hard on planning today's niche tourism event, mapping what's next, Niagara's tourism evolution and the future of the visitor economy. Now, by show of hands, how many of you have been to the Niagara Parks Power Station before? Awesome. Thank you for your patronage. And for those seeing this for the first time, I hope you take the opportunity to tour through the generator hall floor, and the tunnel is open as well. So there'll be lots of time later on for visiting. So I want everyone to think back to the turn of the 20th century. And there was a period of innovation in the province of Ontario. The province had created the Niagara Parks Commission in 1885, and a few short years later, entrepreneurs approached Niagara Parks to build hydroelectric power generating stations. This was the first one on the Canadian side of the Niagara River. I think it's so appropriate to be here today because we're talking about exactly that, entrepreneurship and innovation. Please take the chance to see the entrepreneurs who are here today in the forebay. They're clients of the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub, and they worked hard to put their exhibits together, their ideas. And entrepreneurship is tough stuff. And we're going to hear from Minister Cho a little bit later, who's an entrepreneur himself, for some tips in terms of what he's learned from his journey as well. So before we get into the formal part of the program, we have a very important part, our land acknowledgement, and Nicole Smith is going to provide the land acknowledgement today. Nicole.
Thank you very much. We will begin this event by acknowledging that the land on which we gather has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. As settlers, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Ojibwe Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home for many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Nicole, so much for that land acknowledgement. It gives me great pleasure to call upon the Executive Director of the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub, Dan Bordenave.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nicole and David, for the introduction. And welcome, everybody, to Niche Tourism Showcase today. And we are so glad that you guys are here with us today. Our vision for Niche is always to build bridges between entrepreneurs and experts, industry veterans and new innovators, and between community leaders and business builders. Tourism in Niagara is evolving beyond traditional methods. Visitors are increasingly seeking more personalized, sustainable, and more immersive experiences, and destinations must adapt to meet those expectations. From digital booking platforms to data-driven marketing opportunities, ecotourism, culinary offerings, and year-round attractions, Niagara has a real opportunity to redefine what modern tourism looks like. How we innovate today will directly shape how our region grows, competes, and thrives tomorrow. And it takes gatherings like this, where stakeholders come together to understand today's challenges and build a stronger future for Niagara's tourism sectors. Whether we're responding to shifting travel trends, workforce pressures, evolving visitor expectations, or even the changing global market dynamics, one thing is clear, is that when we collaborate to find solutions, the entire region benefits. This collaborative approach is what continues to position Niagara as a leader in both Canadian and international tourism. And as you look around the room today, you may already notice some very innovative ideas, services, and solutions rooted right here in our region, many of them which would be new to you. These initiatives were developed in our own backyard and are already shaping how tourism in Niagara is experienced, delivered, and perceived both now and in the future. Today also marks the official launch of our TRIP program, a funded initiative supported by the City of Niagara Falls and the Tourism Partnership of Niagara. Through this program, we will incubate 5 tourism startups, each gaining the opportunity to partner with local stakeholders and pilot their tourism technologies across Niagara this summer. TRIP provides these startups with direct access to the Niagara Tourism Network and a platform to launch data-driven solutions designed to enhance visitor attraction and tourism experiences while delivering measurable impact. So I encourage you to visit the showcase area in the back of the room where you can meet some of the founders, explore their innovations, and engage directly with the ventures shaping the future of tourism in Niagara. So as you can see, the future of Niagara tourism is built through ongoing collaboration and innovation. By working together, sharing knowledge, and embracing new ideas, we can strengthen the sector in ways that are sustainable, competitive, and inclusive. And if we remain committed to this collaboration and forward thinking, we will not only meet the future challenges, but we will also shape the future of tourism in our region for generations to come. At this time, I would like to recognize the following sponsors for help making this event possible. The City of Niagara Falls, Niagara Region Economic Development Department, the Ontario Government Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, the Niagara Parks, our community partners, Bridges Niagara, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, and tonight's main sponsor, the Tourism Partnership of Niagara. At this time, I would like to bring up the Executive Director of the Tourism Partnership of Niagara, Daryl McMillan, to say a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you, Dan and team, for the invitation and opportunity to make these remarks. On behalf of the Tourism Partnership of Niagara, I want to congratulate you for bringing this event together. It's not easy to convene a room of innovators, operators, policymakers, and entrepreneurs, but it's exactly the conversation Niagara needs right now. Today isn't just about tourism as we know it, it's about what's next. How we evolve, diversify, and build experiences to give people new reasons to choose Niagara, stay longer, and come back more often. The Tourism Partnership of Niagara is a provincially designated RTO2, Regional Tourism Organization 2. Our role is to grow the visitor economy across the region by aligning strategy, investing in marketing, research and data, supporting product and experience development, strengthen partnerships, and advocate on behalf of the industry. Simply put, we work together to increase spending, attract investment, and create jobs within the Niagara tourism sector. I anticipate our work will be increasingly influenced and guided by the Destination Niagara strategy, which sets a clear ambition to position Niagara as Ontario's playground and to meaningfully grow both visitation and length of stay. We know we won't get there by standing still or doing more of the same. Growth will come from creativity, unique experiences, innovation, and fresh thinking. It's exactly what today is all about. I'd like to recognize Minister Cho and our friends from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Gaming who provide the requisite funding for our organization and our programs to exist. I also would like to acknowledge the many volunteer members of the TPN board who are with us here today, including our board chair, and I know Anne-Marie's participating in today's panel. Thank you, Gregory Higginbotham, on behalf of TPN and the rest of our board for being here. Thank you for your leadership and your ongoing commitment to tourism in Niagara. If you're interested in continuing the conversation that starts today at a broader regional level, we'll be diving deeper and presenting important brand updates on the Visit Niagara Canada brand, as well as a deeper dive into the Destination Niagara strategy at our tourism summit, the Niagara Tourism Leadership Summit on February 26th at Stone Mill in St. Catharines. There's a very limited number of seats and registrations available, so please contact our office if you're interested in attending. With that, thank you again to the Innovation Hub for hosting today, and for all of you for being here, and your time and energy and investment in Niagara's bright future.
Thank you, Daryl, for the TPN's support of today's important event. Our next speaker knows a thing or two about entrepreneurship. Before becoming a city councillor and subsequently mayor, Mayor Diodati owned and operated a number of businesses. Our next speaker, Mayor Jim Diodati.
Thank you very much, David. David, I just have to acknowledge, this guy is one of the, in my opinion, top provincial bureaucrats we have in this province. The way he is leading the Niagara Parks Commission to great prosperity and innovation, including starting with this building. I don't want anyone to take for granted the building you're sitting in right now. This place took 4 years to build. Imagine this, in 1901, it took 4 years to build with pickaxe and dynamite. Today, to build a building like this, we'd still be doing the environmental studies for the first 4 years. Dave, during COVID, with his team, including Marcelo and his team, took this place, which is a relic, and turned it into what it is today. This place is where Nikola Tesla used 9 of his patents to harness the power of the falls to create electricity available to millions of homes in New York and Ontario. And David and his team with Marcelo recreated this into one of the most spectacular places, and I think it has a sense of space that can take its place anywhere in the world. Things like that are the kind of things that David has got in store. Please put your hands together to acknowledge David Adams. So for anyone that in the past has referred to him as David Adams, be sure it's Adams. Say it right. And speaking of names, so I do want to acknowledge we've got a couple of city councilors here today. I've got Mona Patel and Ruth Ann Newestag. Please put your hands together. Thank you for acknowledging them. I know we have our MPP, Mr. Wayne Gates. Wayne, thank you for being here. Sue Mingle, representing our MP, Tony Baldinelli. Thank you very much, Sue, for being here. And I'm also thrilled that we get to have our Associate Minister of Energy, our own Minister, Sam Oosterhoff, better known as the Dutch Diva around these parts. Thank you, Sam, for being here. Yes, Stan, I saved you for last. And of course, our Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Gaming, Stan Cho, the only guy that I've seen in this room that has his own neon light made after him. I don't know if you noticed that. And that is why around here we know him more affectionately as the Korean heartthrob. Big hand for Stan Cho. And I do just briefly want to say, this is about, and this is what I love about what Dan and his team are doing. And by the way, he used to be known as Dan Bordenave, and then he went with the traditional name of Bordenave, and we have to pay him more now because of his name. It's the artistic side to Dan and his team. But they're doing something incredible that I wish existed when I was starting my businesses. Everybody's got a great idea, but they're not sure what to do with it. They've got it on the back of a napkin, or they're running it out of their kitchen or their garage. They need someone to teach them how to do a business plan, how to do a pro forma, how to look at supply chains. They'll walk you through. Maybe you need investment, you need angel investors. They will help you every step of the way to incubate and accelerate your business. We like to say mining for the miners, because every big company started as a little idea. And these guys are going to help those people, bring them to market. And we're so grateful for what they're doing here today. And I want you to take the time, visit every one of these entrepreneurs, because an entrepreneur just like them was a Niagara Falls boy who started the Auto Trader a number of years ago. And today, John McBain is a multi-billionaire living in Switzerland who still gives back to his community on a regular basis, but he started here, his roots are here, he never forgets us, and that's why it's important at helping businesses develop from the roots up. How about a big hand for Dan Bordenave and his team? And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge we have a number of commissioners here today from the Niagara Parks Commission. I see Ted Celsey, I see Dan LaCaprera. Would all the commissioners just please stand up and be acknowledged for all of our crowd? Please put your hands together. So ladies and gentlemen, today is a celebration of innovation. We are so lucky to have a day like today, with a team like today, in a space like today. Don't take it for granted. It's a great opportunity. I hope everybody takes the opportunity to network, exchange contact information. Remember, those who have the best network will have the best net worth. Thanks. Let's have a great day. Thank you.
Always with the best sayings. Thank you, Mayor. Tony Baldinelli would have very much liked to have been here today. He's in Ottawa, so representing Tony is Sue Mingle. Sue.
Good afternoon, everyone. As David said, I'm here representing Tony Baldinelli, our federal Member of Parliament who is in Ottawa and unable to be here. So first I want to thank everyone who put all of this together this day in this fabulous venue. Thank you for all the work you did. I think this is amazing. So personally, I've been directly involved in tourism in multiple capacities for almost 50 years. Seriously, I predate the Winter Festival of Lights. I do. During that time, trends have come and gone. They've come back again, they've gone again, and I've seen monumental successes and grand failures. I've seen new programming, I've seen old programming be resurrected and become new again. But it's always exciting to see innovative offerings. I remember when tourism was only Niagara Falls, and no one dared step outside that boundary. Now we embrace and enjoy the entire region. Remember, Niagara can thrive on our easiest customer, the repeat customer. Now, I'm going to take you back a couple years. You remember that little thing called COVID? Customer feedback told us over and over and over again that they no longer want the same old, same old. They want new, they want inventive, they want fun, and they want to feel that their money was well spent. Something we all should have learned, that anyone that is sitting on their laurels thinking they can keep offering the same product is going to fall behind. Entrepreneurs in the tourism industry should be testing their own product. Sleep in your rooms. Use the shower and the products you offer. Visit the attractions. Eat your own restaurant food without them knowing it's for you, because you're not getting the wilty lettuce. Attend the events in your area. Check the links on your website to make sure they work. Would you buy from your own marketing? Would you buy your own product? Be your customer and experience exactly what your visitor experiences. The tourism market is global, and it has been for a long time. So if our visitors are not getting what they want from us, they will get it somewhere else. During my years in tourism, I can recall only two types of scenarios where we have seen growth in our industry. One is when crisis hits. Everyone panics, and everyone truly and genuinely works together and collaborates to help recovery. And the second one is when creative, inventive, progressive, and new offerings are launched. That is one of the reasons today's Niche Innovation Showcase is so important, bringing together industry leaders, innovators, and pioneers to explore the future of Niagara's dynamic tourism sector. The entrepreneurs that are showcasing today may be the future of our industry. They are our new bright spots. So it's a special opportunity to gather and explore what's next for Niagara's tourism industry. Tony has always been interested in understanding the challenges our riding faces and to stay informed about the issues that matter most in our community. So do reach out if you'd like to. Congratulations to those who have come together today to look at the strategies and the forward-thinking practices that can help shape the future of Niagara's vibrant tourism world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And I finally remember our time serving together on the Winter Festival Lights Board of Directors. That's awesome. Good to see you, Sue. We also want to acknowledge Joyce Morocco, Regional Councillor for Niagara Falls. Joyce, give a wave. Our next speaker is Member of Provincial Parliament for Niagara Falls, Mr. Wayne Gates. Wayne.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we're here to celebrate tourism. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I want to start. I know we've said thank you to David and to Dan and to the mayor, but I want to talk about the tourist minister. It's really good that he comes here because he's got to know what's going on in Niagara. And he's been here probably more than any of the tourist minister since I became MPP, and that was 5 terms ago. But what's equally important, as we try to find out what do we do next, is that every single level of government's here today. Municipal's here, the region's here, Tony from federal government, Sam. We're all trying to work together to come up with solutions. And the way you get things done, I believe in Niagara and right across the province of Ontario, and quite frankly across the country, we should all be working together for the common goal. Because you never know what's going to happen in this world right now. You know, we got the Trump that's going on out there. We don't know what's going to happen there. But we saw real quickly what happened when COVID hit. We all remember COVID. We hated it. But in this community, 40,000 people lost their job overnight. Overnight. Jim remembers those days, how bad it was. People were trying to figure what they're going to do, how they're going to pay their mortgage, how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to buy their groceries. Yet what happened is, all levels of government started to work together during that period of time. And the tourist sector rebuilt themselves, met provincially, met federally. They come up with ideas on how we can get past COVID. Some of the stuff has worked out extremely well, particularly in the wine industry, with the 6.1 that me and Sam and the tourist minister spoke about. We talked about how we need to have GO train all the way here, all the way to Niagara Falls, 2-way all day. Those type of things will help tourism. That's what we have to do. We have to continue to do that. And I'm not going to talk about what the future's going to hold. The panel can handle that. But what I am going to say, I'm going to commit, just like everybody else in this room, tourism is important. It's not only important in Niagara, it's important right across the province of Ontario. But if we're going to do something in Niagara, you know, it isn't just Niagara Falls. We got to talk about Fort Erie. We got to talk about the Welland Canal. We got to talk about Port Colborne and our wonderful beaches that we have right in this area. That's how we're going to educate the public to come here, not only in Ontario and Canada, but right across the world. We can do that if we work together. But I got to tell you, I'm going to finish with a quick story today. I know the CEO from Fort Erie here. Where are you here? Put your hand up. You're here somewhere? I was down in Crystal Beach this morning. I was doing a video. I don't know how many follow me on social media, but I do videos. And I went, okay, everybody does. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I went down to Crystal Beach because they got caves there. Lake Erie's frozen. 99.5% of the lake is frozen. So I went out there and I went and looked at the caves. And he said to me, he says, Gatesy, what do you go down there for? I said, I think it's beautiful. It's great. He says, we're encouraging people not to go on the ice. And I said, yeah, but it's great for tourism. So he said, but I will agree with them, don't go on the ice. Does anybody know why? While I was doing my video, guess what happened? I fell. So go down, take a look at the Lake Erie. Don't go on the ice. I know the firefighters are now telling us don't go on the ice because they can't get to you if something happens. But that's the things that happen in Niagara. You never know what's going to get our attention, what's going to pique our interest. Niagara is the best place to live and raise our families. Let's continue to work together, because if we work together, we all win. And keep up the great work, Dan, and everybody else, and right here, Dan. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Wayne, so much for being here today. Another friend of tourism, a friend of business, the Associate Minister of Energy, and the Member of Provincial Parliament for Niagara West, Sam Oosterhoff. Sam.
Good to see you, Adam. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is really beautiful out there, and it is always beautiful to be here in Niagara Falls. Thank you for the warm welcome. Wayne, I have to say, really appreciate all the speakers so far, with the exception of Jim Diodati. I have to tell you that the nicknames that he came up with were actually from Jason Burgess about 5 minutes ago. And I don't know about you, but I've been hearing a lot of rumors about governance changes here in Niagara, and I have to tell you, I wasn't really convinced. Until I heard Jim speak, and now I think there are definitely too many mayors in Niagara. So I appreciate you, Jim. Thank you for sharing that with the world. What a beautiful day it is to be here. I'm excited to hear about the opportunities that are coming down the pipe. This word niche, I have just a little story. My family is actually in the quail business, and if you've ever eaten a quail egg in Ontario, in Canada, probably in North America, it actually comes from a very successful local family business that has a number of farms, and they sell quail eggs and quail meat all over North America, including, I believe, right at the Table Rock. And they found a niche, and my brother, my uncle, my dad, they found that niche, quail eggs, which is something you wouldn't think of as being, a business that can sustain a family, let alone many workers. But I can tell you right now, they found a niche, and that niche has allowed them to grow, to add jobs, to contribute to the local economy. And that's what all of you are doing as entrepreneurs and business owners. You're finding niches that meet your customers' needs. You're finding niches that you're able to value add to people's experience here in Niagara, to innovate. And through that niche, you're able to demonstrate how you can grow and continue to thrive. I'm excited to hear more about how those niches are growing. And as all of the folks who are going to be here this afternoon and speak about that, I'm excited to see what they do. But I have to tell you, to build off what Gatesy said about Minister Cho. Those at Queen's Park sometimes call us the Chosterhoff, because we are always at the cafeteria eating together. And I have to tell you, he's someone who is down here next to the Premier more than anyone else from Queen's Park. You have been here probably multiple times a month for as long as you've been serving in this portfolio. You've come with enthusiasm, with energy. I know there were a number of other ministers who worked on Destination Niagara, but no one could get it across the line until you came forward. Thank you for your advocacy for this region. Thank you for your advocacy for tourism in Ontario. And I'm excited to introduce to all of you a friend of mine, a friend of Niagara, the Honourable Stan Cho.
Thanks very much, Sam. I can't get over the Dutch diva though. With the mayor, I mean, it's a name that's going to stick at Queen's Park. I can't help it. I'm totally derailed. I can't even open my speech. I'm not going to read it. It is my biggest takeaway, the nickname. I just got to get that out there. Now, look, Sam said some glowing words about me, but I've said this before to you. This man was elected before me. He has been a non-stop advocate for Niagara region for over a decade. We're not anywhere close to getting the Niagara strategy where it got without Sam Oosterhoff. So please give it up for Minister Oosterhoff. Now, equally as passionate about the Niagara region, I want to shout out Jim Diodati and his councillors right here. Jim has a reputation for being the most passionate person you'll ever see talking about Niagara and what it has to offer. He's the only guy I've seen on CNN and Fox News at the same time. But again, Jim, thank you for your passion and love for Niagara and the region. Wayne Gates, you're a lot nicer here than you are in the legislature. A lot nicer. But I'll say I appreciate your words about working together. because we do have a shared goal in developing this region a special place to be. And of course, MP Tony Baldinelli, who's been a huge champion for the region as well. It's nice to see you here, Sue. Look, I actually really do have a 7-page speech that I'm not going to read. We were joking about this with David Adames yesterday, who I also have to shout out. You know, this man has taken the Niagara Parks Commission and made it a $193 million revenue agency. He's clearly our best. I think you had 14 $1 million revenue days in 2025, and thanks to the $25 parking from each of you, we will have our first one here in 2026. Doing an amazing job. Thank you, David, for all of that. Now, you know, we were joking yesterday. We were entertaining some consul generals from South Korea and Ireland here in this very spot. We were just joking that every time I have come down to Niagara Falls, whether it's an announcement or a roundtable, I have told my family story. I mean, today will be no exception. It explains my tie to Niagara Falls, but for those maybe 1 or 2 people in this room who haven't heard this story, my dad went back to Korea to find a wife, and my mom is gorgeous, my dad is not. And the only reason that my mom agreed to marry my dad is because he's the only suitor who said, I can show you Niagara Falls. Yes, you know the story. I owe my life to Niagara Falls. What you may not know is part 2 of that story. Well, they ended up getting married, of course, and moving to Toronto, settling in Rexdale, Ontario, where my first memories are. And those first memories are doing homework and playing in the back of a convenience store in Rexdale, Ontario. And I saw my parents work 7 days a week. Tireless hours. I mean, these are the 80s, man. They went through some tough times as Asian immigrants in a rough neighborhood, but they never complained. They worked harder and harder, and throughout all that adversity, they fought through it and gave their 3 kids a better life than they had had. That, to me, is the definition of being an entrepreneur. That is the spirit that the people in this room embody. And you can innovate all you want. You can cluster all you want. You can have all the support that you can find, but without that entrepreneurial spirit, everything fails. Now, I remember a year and a half ago when the Premier sat me down in this tiny little bank vault, literally a bank vault in Queen's Park, and he told me what my new role would be. And his vision was clear on the Niagara strategy. It was to make this a 3-4 night, 1-week destination spot, to put it on a map in a way that it had never been done so globally. And he said, it's not government that's going to do it. Your job is to make sure we create the conditions for it to get done and allow the entrepreneurs who are going to be the pioneers to get that built. Now, as I look around the room and I see the incredible people here today, and Dan, I want to thank you and Nish who put this together. It's going to be a very clear statement from me and the Premier, because he told me to say this here this afternoon. It's not us that'll do it. It is you in this room. I'm looking forward to working with you. The vision is big. The goal is bold. But we are confident that with you, we'll get it done. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, everybody. Thank you once again to Minister Ustroff and Minister Cho. Round of applause, everybody, for their leadership in helping make Ontario a proactive and great place to live.
We've assembled a tremendous panel today. I want you to be thinking about questions as the panelists are taking their seats. We're going to make this interactive, so I'm going to stop along the way, open up to the floor for questions. All you have to do is put your hand up, and Dan will have a portable microphone to go around the forebay here. So joining Minister Cho today, Anne-Marie Nitzopoulos, Tim Oldfield, and Lindsay DeCosmo. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce each of our panelists today. So Anne-Marie is a Niagara Falls-based hospitality entrepreneur and co-owner of the Old Stone Inn Boutique Hotel. Coming from a family business and inspired by her love of travel, she's passionate about creating places people want to slow down and return to. Please join me in welcoming Anne-Marie Nitzopoulos to the panel. Tim Oldfield is president of the Niagara Falls Convention Center, bringing over 25 years of leadership experience in hospitality, strategic growth, and business events. Before joining the Niagara Falls Convention Center, he held senior global roles with Marriott International and Choice Hotels, advancing innovation and elevating customer experience. At the Convention Center, Tim is leading a renewed focus on destination impact and maximizing Niagara Falls' potential as a world-class business events hub. Please join me in welcoming Tim. Lindsay DeCosmo, a third-generation hospitality professional, Lindsay has spent years driving marketing innovation across the hotel, dining, and attraction sectors. In addition to her private sector leadership, Lindsay serves as chair, as of yesterday, of the Niagara Falls Bridge Commission. Congratulations, Lindsay, on that. The Bridge Commission manages vital international infrastructure between the US and Canada, including the Rainbow Bridge, which we could see outside the window. A former NCAA Division I women's rowing captain, Lindsay translates the discipline and collaborative drive of elite athletics into strategic growth of the Niagara region's tourism ecosystem. Please join me in welcoming Lindsay to the panel. So my first question is for Minister Cho. So thinking about the important Destination Niagara strategy and projecting out 5 or 10 years, what would you like the tourism industry to look like in Niagara Falls and in Niagara?
Well, thank you, David. 5 or 10 years out. Well, we're hoping what we have is the whole story. You know, when you think about, it's been said a couple of times today, the idea is to get people to stay longer. By naturally doing that, you spend more money, of course. But to be able to do that, I think we have to think about where we vacation in the world and where we like to stay longer and where we like to spend more money. And I'm not talking about the specifics, you know, in terms of the city. I'm not talking about architecture. I'm talking about the story itself. Right? When you do plan a family vacation, the entire experience just has to make sense. It has to flow. There has to be options for your entire family. Now here, do we have those pieces? And I think we have to take a good, long, hard look at ourselves and be honest with what the region has to offer. Yes, we have the pieces. You know, MPP Gates was mentioning Port Colborne, clear beaches, Crystal, Nickel Beach, some of the richest soils on earth, some of the best wines, some of the best restaurants, the rich history, the War of 1812, of course, the genesis of our country. We have the Shaw Festival, a cultural hub. But these are pieces. Now, are they connected? And the answer today is no. And what connection doesn't just mean transit infrastructure or transportation networks. It means understanding that these experiences need to link, to relate to each other. We're not quite there yet. And that's what the Niagara strategy aims to do, is to write that story in a more complete fashion. And to say to the visitor, you don't have to think about how you're going to get from point A to point B. You don't have to think about where you're going to find your next experiences. Those will be available for you. The capital will come, and we need to be able to have the big capital to come for the smaller capital to also come. The Niagara strategy was the first step, and for those who may not remember the specific pieces, it is a market sounding clearly for large attractions. RFI, RFQs for a major marina, for another major hotel and the Ontario Power Generating Station, the announcement of a transit link finally between the Clifton Hill area, the Fallsview area, looping back, and in and of itself being a beautiful attraction, and also putting our heads towards thinking about, well, how do we connect Port Colborne, Fort Erie, Niagara-on-the-Lake to part of this story? It's one of the most unique places in the world that you drive out from the hub of Niagara Falls out 30 minutes, and the spokes are equally as beautiful. You know, David, you were with the consul generals yesterday from Ireland and Korea. When we took them down the tunnel and brought them out to the other side and looked at a frozen falls, they were emotional. And it is a beautiful place to be, but that beauty extends across the region. Let's make that story make sense. What does it look like in 5 to 10 years? We put Las Vegas to shame. This is the world place to be, and that's what the Premier was clear on. He wants it to be the best destination on the planet.
That's a great opening. No, seriously, great opening answer. That really sets the table very well for the panel. So I'm going to lean on Anne Marie and Lindsay here. So we have tourism operators in the crowd. We've got great tourism operators up here with Anne Marie and Lindsay. So thinking about that Destination Niagara strategy, what can the tourism operators do to contribute to that vision 5 to 10 years that the minister just talked about? So Anne Marie first.
Thank you. Wow, this is exciting to be in this room with all of these people, let me tell you. I think of the destination as an orchestra. So, and we are instruments within that orchestra. And the minister is speaking to the rhythm, that storytelling, that connectivity, right? So what's that rhythm? The ministry set the score, the destination is the ensemble, and we're the instruments. So if I think of myself as an instrument, it's not about me playing louder, it's a matter of layering, where do I fit in amongst the ensemble? What's my role? What's my attribute? What's my unique value proposition in the bigger picture of what's set out for us? So that's the way I look at things, and that's the way I look at how I play within the destination, and how can I contribute to that? How can I play in this great orchestra? What's my instrument? But the orchestrator will dictate on what layer that is and when to bring me in and how I feel to bring that in.
I want to come back to Anne Marie a little bit later and ask about information gaps or data gaps that we may have. In other words, do we have enough information to know where those players can fit into with different instruments? But I'm going to turn to Lindsay next as well. So think about 5 to 10 years out, Destination Niagara strategy. What advice would you have to tourism operators?
The biggest part of this is that we need to become strategic partners. We cannot do this on our own. The government cannot do it on their own either. So they've kind of created this roadmap for us, and it is now our job to jump onto that, to be prepared, to come with fresh ideas. When other operators succeed, so do we. As a destination, we need to build up together. When there is capital put into this destination, when there is investment put into the destination with attractions, restaurants, nightlife, new hotels, transportation, that's when we all succeed. When there is new development, new growth, that is what we're championing. We're not just championing what can I do as an individual business. I love seeing Anne Marie's creative restaurants that are coming out, or the new attractions in the Niagara Parks. When all of these entities are providing new, innovative, creative ideas, that is when the destination grows and continues to succeed, and that is what we need to build on.
So Lindsay, sorry, I'll come back to this. So are you able to share a story? I know your company has made some investments in updating some visitor experiences very recently. Can you share 1 or 2 examples and how you've seen that change the guest experience?
Absolutely. So a couple that come to mind was the multi-million-dollar investment that we just did in the Hilton Niagara Falls lobby bar. So that was a staple. Again, it was doing well, but there was a need to elevate, to innovate, to give customers what they were looking for. They're looking for late night experiences. Something that can extend the nightlife after they go and see an OLG stage show, what is going to keep them in the destination and in the property longer. And I think there's a craving for experiences, for new, innovative ways for people to connect and to experience Niagara Falls outside of the water, outside of the main iconic reason that brings people here. Now it's up to us as operators and as champions of the city to give them reason to stay longer, to hit that 3 or 4 day and further on stay.
and it's, you know, it activates that space really well, engages the visitors. Did an outstanding job with that renovation, and you use local Niagara businesses for the supplier side.
Absolutely. All the artwork in there is done by local artists as well.
And Emery, I think you wanted to add a comment a moment ago. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, it's just about layering those experiences, right? So we do have the iconic anchors, you know, which are fabulous. They're the hook, but we need to build upon those anchors and create those experiences around it that keep the guest here longer, for sure, for certain.
So business events, we're going to turn to Tim next. And I've heard it said that, you know, when you're the #1 leisure destination, you're also a great business events or conference venue and conference location as well. So Tim, maybe a two-part question. Being new to the destination, we welcome your comments on your assessment of how we're doing from a competitive perspective. But how you see business events going over the next 5 to 10 years in light of the Destination Niagara strategy?
Do a little framing on that. So for those that don't know, I'm relatively new to Niagara, having moved here just 10 months ago to lead the convention center. So I have a few observations as a newcomer to Niagara Falls, but I've visited this destination for years. So I have this very interesting perspective that says I thought I knew what Niagara was all about until I got here and started experiencing it. And I think that's a common theme that we'll explore and experience as we go around the world, talking to people's perspectives on what Niagara Falls, and what it means to them. But let me just anchor the business event side of this in the opening comments from Minister Cho. We talked about the next 5 to 10 years, and I think about Niagara Falls' opportunity in becoming a multi-season destination, a multi-day stay destination. That is what this is all about. We want to double visitation. We want to extend the number of nights. We want to have more spend in the market. We want to build absolutely rabid, raving advocates for the brand Niagara Falls after you've experienced it. And business events is one of the ways we anchor that, because business events tends to happen off-season, opposite to peak. They stay longer. They come for one experience, which may well be the convention or the meeting they're at. So I think it's a core part of the strategy. Let me just share with you a little bit of data on why business events is important and where Niagara Falls can really lean into this. Meetings Means Business Canada does a study. It's actually going to get refreshed. But they'll tell you that 40% of the tourism economy, a full 40% of the tourism economy, is business events. It drives over 250,000 jobs in the Canadian economy a year, and $47 billion of direct economic impact in Canada. Our challenge in Niagara Falls is, how do we not only get our fair share, but how do we get an outsized share of that? And I think the work that we're talking about in the Destination Niagara strategy is the start of that. Creating the conditions that will allow us to have the private sector investment to grow the tourist economy, leisure and business, over the next 5 to 10 years. I am so bullish on Niagara Falls in the future. I couldn't be happier to be here.
So Tim, you alluded to, again, that sort of off-season or shoulder season need period, and how business events can fill that in. So we're going to probe a bit about filling in the shoulder seasons as well, because I think if we're going to achieve that target in the Destination Niagara strategy about doubling tourism to Niagara, we need to grow the late fall, winter, early spring. And by the way, that's a common challenge across the country. Canada, for the most part, is still a fairly seasonal tourism market. So there's lots of factors that go into that, but we absolutely need to come together to grow. So anything you want to build upon with the sort of shoulder season and what we could be doing in Niagara Falls?
Well, I was just going to offer that that's our opportunity. The question is how do we best come together as a destination and the operator network, which is deeply embedded in entrepreneurial spirit, so we believe we can do it. How do we take advantage of that opportunity and attract? And that is, I think, what the conversation today leads us into.
I think Anne-Marie wanted to weigh in on this one too. Go ahead. So shoulder season, growing that business.
Shoulder season, evening, right? Goes back to rhythm, right? What's the rhythm, right? We have this stop-start, seasonality for the year or even the day. So imagine, right now, great things happening in the destination with our fireworks, with our laser light shows, etc., right? But it feels like it's an end. The fireworks, the laser light show should be the beginning of what is happening at night, not the end. It's the beginning, it's the start. So it's just changing and reframing what we're doing actually. You know, and when you think of it as the beginning, so Niagara After Dark, right? So we've got more things going on, and things aren't ending when the fireworks or the laser show happening. Things are just beginning at night. So we want to create that momentum, and we want to create that flow from day to night, so it's more seamless. If we're going to be the Vegas, we're 24 hours, baby. Like, there's no start and no stop. It's just continuous. But if we just change our mindset, and sometimes it's photos, it's imagery, it's terminology, you know, that stop-start. And when I speak to the stop-start, right, so it's not, we've come to Niagara Falls, we've been there, we've done that, we've taken our photo op. It's not about that. It's about, we've come to Niagara Falls and we're being in the destination. We're here, we're present, we're experiencing, right? So we evoke that emotion. And Minister Stan spoke to that earlier about that family connection, right? About that feeling. And when you create that feeling, that rhythm, and that excitement, it resonates amongst people. And that's how you build, because those people are going to share how they felt in the destination. The products are part of it, but it really, that feeling is what resonates and what brings people back, because there's a continual story to be had. More reason to come, not one and done, more.
So I think what you're getting at as well is that anytime folks think about Niagara Falls, Niagara region, there's always going to be something going on, regardless of time of day, time of year. There's always something going on.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Continual.
So Lindsay, building the shoulder season, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the destination 25, 30 years ago, there was a time prior to the Winter Festival of Lights programming where hotels would close post-Labor Day. They would close their doors and we would wait until the May long weekend to reopen. So we've obviously shifted that and extended the season, but now we need strategic programming around consistency. A one-time blimp of an event is not going to bring people to the destination consistently. When there is programming that is reliable, that is when people can start planning their visitation here, knowing that no matter what time of year they come, there is going to be something happening in Niagara. It's going to be lively, it's going to be vibrant. If we don't have that, if we have these one-off events that there's no consistency around them, how do we take advantage of that growth? We can't. It's a one and done. But with a consistent, reliable strategy, I just see the destination really extending the season.
I'm going to turn to Minister Cho in just a moment. When we think about the investments that have been made lately, so the new OLG stage and that type of infrastructure, that type of venue coming to Niagara Falls, the program tweak that the Shaw Festival made in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So it wasn't that long ago that they had the spring, summer, early fall season, and that was it. They added the holiday programming, and is now, Minister, I think you'll know the stat, but it's one of their busiest periods during the season. So that's extended the season for Niagara, another key demand generator. So Minister Cho and certainly Minister Oosterhoff talked about this earlier about the amount of time that you've been investing in assessing Niagara. So from your perspective, any thoughts on the shoulder season, how we can grow that period?
Yeah, lots of thoughts on the shoulder season. Just to finish that thought though, David, the Shaw's second busiest month next July is now December. And you talk to the businesses up and down Queen Street and in Niagara-on-the-Lake, it's been a total game changer for what used to be a completely dead season for them. Let's look to that as an example of what's possible elsewhere throughout the region. I'll give you a really big one to help the shoulder seasons right off the top. We need an international airport much closer to home. You think to wink...
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Diodati, for leading the ovation on that one. I know you've been a strong proponent of that for a long time, but let's be honest with ourselves. When you're traveling to a destination and the weather's going to suck, and man, has it ever sucked this January, driving down the QEW for 3 hours in a snowstorm from Pearson International is not appealing to anybody, not close to home, not from abroad. We need that, and I know MP Baldinelli is a big champion for that. I've spoken to the tourism minister federally about that, Minister Valdez, and I know that the premier made this one of his top priorities when he spoke to the prime minister recently. So let's all collectively, as business leaders in our communities, keep pushing for the international airport. We need a little bit more runway, and we need the federal government to say yes to this, and it's a completely reasonable ask. So, that's, I think, one of the most important pieces.
Couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's game changer for the destination.
100%. And I think the other piece that we should do, and I bring this information from having spoken to, I know Minister Osterhoff just got back from a federal, provincial, territorial meeting with his colleagues in the energy ministry. It's the same for us. We meet with our counterparts across the country regularly, and one of the takeaways we found was let's look globally to what's working elsewhere, and let's lean into our strengths. And what I mean by that, I just got back from a tourism trade mission with David Adames a couple months ago in Japan and Korea, and I was astonished to learn that nobody really knew where the hell Toronto was on a map. And they don't care. It's the largest city in Canada, and the greater city area has a population of 7 million. That's a small town in some of these Asian and European countries. They don't know where it is, so why push that on them? Every single one, though, knew where Niagara Falls was and knew about the beautiful changing colors on the leaves in Algonquin Park. Why aren't we leaning into these strengths? Well, let's advertise to that. Let's market to that. And also, let's lean into what is a reality. If you look outside, it's frozen, it's wet, and sometimes we may look at that because we see it for it feels like half the year and look at it as miserable, but there's lots of places around the world that don't get to see snow and think it's stunning. I'll talk about yesterday the Consul General of Ireland, and I mentioned it earlier. We walked out to the tunnel and they got emotional seeing a rainbow hit over the frozen water and partially frozen falls with the beautiful ice-capped trees in the background. These are views that we can market and use, and it is a reality of our world. We should be leaning into these things. Not to mention that globally, one of the faster growing vacation trends is called coolcations. Those climates who don't get to see the snow are traveling around the world for those types of experiences. Let's market to those areas. Let's open up those marketing opportunities, and I think David Adames will attest to this. We've seen huge international numbers despite the fall from Americans. I think South Korea is the #5 visitor now to Niagara. Revenue, I believe, from France is up 33% year over year, Japan 28%. Big numbers, and I think there's an opportunity here to lean into what we traditionally thought as weaknesses to market to our benefit.
So this is where we need everyone's help in the room. We want to build 3 and 4, or maybe even more, 5-day itineraries with overnights here in Niagara. So for a long time, what Minister Cho's talked about with that international sales mission, for a long time, some of the tour operators have thought about Niagara as a day trip from New York or from Toronto. But when we talk about the depth of experiences we have here in Niagara, they're asking us for those 2, 3, 4, 5-day itineraries staying here. In fact, we have guests who are disappointed when they come for a day trip from those other markets and realize how much is here. And there's still things that we're familiar with are unfamiliar the further we go. I'll take Niagara's wine industry. Well known here, but when we were in Europe, we did a Niagara Park sales mission in England, France, and Germany, and talking to many operators there. They were unaware about, and I'm seeing my Niagara College colleague here who's recently moved from France to Niagara, who was unaware of the depth of the wine industry here and the investments that wineries and cideries and craft brewers, did I say distillers too? Distillers are making in Niagara. It's remarkable, and Sam knows that really, really well. It's impressive what's going on in the benchlands in Niagara-on-the-Lake and bringing all that together. So I know one of the pillars of the Destination Niagara strategy is wine and culinary. So maybe let's dive into that one a little bit more in terms of how we showcase Niagara, our food and beverage in those opportunities, those 2, 3, 4, 5-day itineraries along with our attractions, along with our great hotels, along with our transportation sector, that sort of thing. So I don't know who wants to take this question first. Either Lindsay, you want to take that one first, the food and culinary side?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. That goes into the overall guest experience. Increasing our food and beverage offering, elevating what we have in Niagara goes hand in hand with extending visitor stay with much more to experience. I know that St. Catharines is doing a fantastic job, as well as Niagara on the Lake, with Michelin Guide recommendations now. I think there is tremendous opportunity for our outlets here in Niagara to definitely elevate, to embrace what is happening in the culinary scene. And we have to start thinking of culinary as entertainment. Especially with today's traveler and what a priority it is for those who are traveling. I mean, I can speak a little bit to experience that I have planned some travel trips around dinner reservations. And I think that needs to make its way to Niagara in terms of the guest experience, in terms of what we are offering, in terms of our culinary and our wine offerings. It's here. There's talent here. There's tremendous talent coming out of Niagara College. We're a big supporter of what is happening in their institute and bringing them into the hospitality industry. So there's lots of potential there. I just think that we need to start looking at that as culinary, as a form of entertainment.
Tim, I think you're going to weigh on this one too.
It's interesting because I think the experiences that you're talking about shaping on the personal travel side, perhaps, or the leisure travel side, very much manifest itself in the business event side as well. So the expectations around F&B at an event today are so elevated because of our own personal experiences. So when we have site visits or FAMs coming into the convention center, a big part of our conversation isn't about the magnificent space we've got, but is in fact about our F&B offerings. And the conversation quickly evolves to a couple of things. One, food quality, the creativity of the culinary teams, how local the produce is or the product, and of course Niagara is a bounty. We've got an opportunity to be farm to table in such an intimate way. Sustainability and responsible food sourcing, all of these conversations that we're having, and Niagara is living that today. So this is not about having to build something new. This is about reframing or perhaps reimagining the conversation around it. One of the things that I really find exciting is that at the end of these site visits that we do, or after the end of an event at the convention center, the number of people who will stop and say, and now I'm going to bring my family back, or I didn't know, to Minister Cho's point earlier, I didn't know. And that to me allows us in business events to be a gateway for more travel on the leisure side in the market, and that I find a tremendous opportunity in.
Anne Marie, because I know you look at culinary activations and think about that guest experience, I think you like to add around the food and culinary, food and wine side of things.
Yeah, food and wine is so important, right? Because it's connectivity with people, it's gathering of people, right? Thus, that's what we do in the destination. That's what visitation is. It's gathering of people. And why not around food and wine? And to what Tim said, we have that in our own backyard, the bounty. I take it a little step further with the experiential side of things, so I tend to layer it a little bit at our property. So I put a seasonality tend to it with Jingle Bar. So at Christmas time, we did a creative pop-up experience. So we created Jingle Bar, which is an immersive cocktail bar themed around the season of the holiday, right? So that's where I kind of play with food a little bit too, right? So we theme it, we create it, and we make it fun and entertaining and engaging. So food can be many levels, but gathering and exploring is about fun too, right?
Minister, you want to weigh on that one too? Are you okay?
You know, I'd like an immersive cocktail right now, actually. Look, you know, culinary is huge. We know it's a large driver of tourism, but I mean, you know, we are so lucky You can travel around the world. You can go to New York City, you can go to London, England, you can go anywhere. And I always find myself thinking, you know what, we have better food options at home. Right? The Michelin Guide is fairly new to Canada and to Ontario. It's been around Europe for a very long time. Did you know that we're the only Michelin Guide on the planet that has 16 different ethnicities represented in the cuisine? And you can get the best butter chicken next to the best Korean barbecue, next to your best Afghan food out there. Like we have a bounty of amazingly rich soils, natural ingredients, and people coming here from all over the world that contribute to this mosaic, and it's shown in that Michelin Guide, but it's also shown at so many other levels, right? You can't make this up. I literally saw Daryl McMillan at Country Fresh Donuts today when I was there for lunch, and I had heard of this place from the CEO of the Royal Winter Garden Fair, who had told me last week in a meeting that this donut shop had the best wonton soup. You guys know about it because you live here. I thought this was one of those weird CNE things where you have to dip the donut in this wonton soup. So I went there today with my staff and coincidentally saw Daryl, and he came up to me and goes, "You know about this place too?" And it turned out to be one of the best damn $9.75 soups I've had in my life. But that's the culinary experience. It's your Michelin Guides. It's your restaurants that I know will show up, but it's also these gems that you find that are just cultural icons that exist in every single town, every corner of Niagara region, and you know where they are. Look, this all combines. This is part of telling that story. Not everybody's going to be able to afford a Pearl Moore set and drop $1,000 on dinner. You're going to have your markets for your $50 dinners for two, and they're going to be delicious. And now there's an entire influencer world out there doing exactly that in Toronto. I point to Insta Noodles, a guy I hosted at Queen's Park, who doesn't showcase Michelin star restaurants. He goes to the mom and pops, and we have a ton of options to offer. There's no difference here in Niagara region. It's a huge story to tell and a huge driver of tourism. And I love David's idea of tying that together with the innovators and the entrepreneurs in the room to come up with packages that include experiences like this. Think your Airbnb experience on your culinary tours, wherever you go in the world. The time is ripe for this kind of thing, and I know it'll drive traffic. Government, for our part, will make sure we create the conditions for you to succeed, continue to reduce the cost of doing business, and stay the hell out of your way.
And we're going to want to plug those itineraries into those different AI platforms in terms of how people are searching for destinations, searching for experiences. That's changing very rapidly. We'll come back to that in a moment. So Minister Cho, you talked earlier about when we were in Japan and Korea and how Niagara Falls in particular, was known. That strong brand. We go back to 1953, and there was a film shot here in Niagara Falls called Niagara, the Marilyn Monroe film. And that was really, I think, the start of positioning the romanticism sort of in the modern era, if you will, for Niagara. And what's going on right now globally, and we talked about the K-pop sensation in Korea in terms of taking different cultural products. There was a show shot in Quebec City. So a Korean show shot in Quebec City, and now again attracting not only visitors from South Korea to Quebec City, but they're taking that, I think it's shown on Netflix, and that production, Dragon Hunter, no, Dragons, what's it called? Demon Hunter, thank you. So again, thinking again about what happened with the Marilyn Monroe film, Superman 2, and other opportunities to bring brands together. So the power of Niagara Falls, the power of Niagara, along with other brands. Working with production companies like Netflix and perhaps some other ones. I think that's another opportunity to get our brand out there, get our message out there. So I'm not sure whether anyone has thought about productions, or Anne-Marie, you want to weigh in on this one?
James Cameron. I mean, can you imagine? So we speak again of expanding itineraries and, you know, things to do in Niagara at nighttime, this continual process. You know, I imagine, you know, the imaginary Avatar experience in Niagara Parks, at Dufferin Islands, all of these ferries. I mean, it's, you know, you need those ideas, right? You need those bigger thinkers to creatively put things together, and then you just try and pitch it. But, you know, the likes of James Cameron, who's a Chippewa born from the area, like, talk about alignment. I mean, I don't see why not. Come on, Mayor.
Tim, you want to weigh in on this one too?
I think there's all kinds of opportunity on one-off productions that's probably achievable in the short term. I do think long term it's an interesting space for the market to consider being in. When you start to think about the newest of studios getting built, $1 billion operation north of Toronto, and you start seeing, aligned with the incentives, the tax incentives that we do in production, there's a real opportunity for that. I think transportation links as part of Destination Niagara would help with that, but I think there could be a long-term play. It's one of the conversations from my prior life that I've had with a couple of studios, just to say, where does Canada fit in long-term? And I think there's growth in that. Niagara Falls could tap in.
Long-term growth, it goes back to the airport. With an airport, it changes the psychology, right? So, that shows commitment, that shows prominence. This airport is not an idea, it's not a notion. It's truly a runway that needs to happen for this destination. And it's more than just tourism, okay? It really is, because that's where private enterprise will be infused into this destination. It gives private sector confidence to come and invest their money in this destination. And you speak to any business, the likes of Salit Steel, the likes of EX Fox, et cetera, that are rooted from Niagara Falls. They'll speak to the likes of, their organizations and their companies at a global level. And from their perspective, from business economics, that airport will change the barometer for the destination. So it's more than just tourism. Tourism is a part of it, and tourism is key, and I think tourism is the obvious, but it goes beyond that. But
It's a force multiplier for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. But for a destination like ourselves, globally, that doesn't have an airport, I mean, come on, guys. It's our time. It's our time.
So I'd like to just check the floor if there are any show of hands for questions on Destination Niagara strategy, some of the topics we've been discussing. Go ahead, sir, go ahead. Dan, microphone in the front row.
Hi, my name is Shandor Ligetfalvey, and I'm working with downtown Niagara Falls, the Niagara Falls Queen Street area. And the Queen Street area in downtown Niagara Falls is the entry point for GO Transit and bus transit. And it's an area that has some historical significance and also an opportunity for improvement. It's an area that's very much local in its clientele and mom and pops in its ownership. I'm wondering, how does a larger investment trickle down into the local scene, and so that an entry points to our area, before there's an airport, there will be a increased train, and so that's sort of the basis of my question. Thank you.
Dan, was it? Dan?
My name is Shandor. Yeah.
Shan?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Shan.
You as well?
Hey, look, I'm glad you brought this question up. We've never met before, right? You didn't plant that, so that was like, it's... When I spoke off the top very high level about telling a story. This is the story I'm talking about, David. I mean, look, I literally, when we were here last year, and I see Sam Miele in the back, I think you might have interviewed me on this very question. I'm glad I get to bring it up. I literally drove downtown with the Premier when we were talking about this Niagara strategy. We had just finished a visit with Mayor Diodati, and he said, I want to see the rest of this downtown area. And I remember him driving through, shaking his head at times, and then you gave him his moment, and he turned around and said, buddy, there's a lot of work to be done down here. We had just announced the increase in GO service down to Niagara Falls, and what the Premier was very upset about was the fact that there were boarded up windows, that there didn't seem to be a connection from that GO terminal station to the tourist area. We literally saw people taking their luggage and walking down the old CN corridor 2 kilometers or whatever it is down to Clifton Hill because the WeGo buses were full and Ubers were on surge pricing. That's not the story we're trying to tell. You can introduce Go Service all you like, but until those broken windows are fixed in your core, there's a nice welcome for somebody who tried to avoid the QEW or took the transit in from Pearson after landing from an international destination. Unacceptable. You can clap for that if you like, Joyce. Thank you, Councillor. So the question then becomes, how do we fix things like that? Because it's not just about an impression. It's about somebody returning to destination a second or third time. Maybe that family who had that impression check can't, they might not return after an experience like that because they can't afford to drive. Maybe they don't have a car. So what we need as government is to say we are introducing some big enabling pieces, whether it's liberalizing gaming, whether it's putting out RFQs and RFIs on an amusement park, a Ferris wheel, a marina, or another big hotel. Once that big capital comes, the reason we're introducing it is because it allows government to justify the investment into further areas, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be a broken window fund. We just need to know, people know, that we are indeed open for business and we want your money to come here. And I think we need to send that message very clearly to our American friends as well. You get a 40% discount, and when our tariff war is done, you will still be our friends. The time to invest is now, and once that is here, it enables us to go further and to address exactly those issues you brought up. That complete the story. It has to be big, it has to be small, it has to be everything in between for this to work, but we're committed to that goal. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask a quick follow-up? I know government isn't the exclusive answer to the need for revitalization in these communities. Instead, it's partnership with private enterprise. And so the question I have is, how do we incentivize greater investment in areas of improvement such as downtown?
I was going to say, I don't know whether Mayor Diodati wants to comment on this one, because you probably have some downtown incentive programs. I know you're doing public realm improvements as well to Bridge Street, so whether Mayor Diodati wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just texting, so my apology. So yeah, regarding our downtown, we recognize the downtown needs a lot of love, but we also recognize just a few kilometers from the rich tourist area. How do we tie the two together and stitch it together along the go? And I think that Minister Cho alluded to it. We're going to have a visitor transportation system. It needs to be seamless. Right now, the highway is really a linear parking lot. That is what's a big impediment for people coming to Niagara Falls. The highways are jammed. And if you add another lane, there's just another lane of jammed traffic. So if we can connect Toronto, the GTA, the fastest growing metropolitan area in North America, connect it with the GO with hourly service and have a visitor transportation system, take them from the downtown to the tourist core, and tie that in with our incubator hub, which is the niche event, and our new university, the University of Niagara Falls, Canada, which is in the downtown. We've got the right pieces, so we've created incentives now. We've got, mentioned by David, CIPs, which are incentives for development to avoid having to pay development charges and a number of other fees. We're going to incentivize development and investment. It's already happening. We're building a new 10-story apartment building downtown. There's a lot of things happening, and I'm going to tell you, for the investors in the room, buy land in the downtown. I said that to everyone when the hospital was built, and people didn't do it. Now we got billions of dollars going out there. We said we're going to get an airport expansion. They didn't believe it. We're going to get the GO train. They didn't believe it. I'm telling you, invest in downtown. It is going to be the hidden gem. It's going to be the next hot area. In 5 years, you will not recognize downtown Niagara Falls. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Diodati. Other hands for, Chris, go ahead.
Thank you. Chris McQueen, Town of Fort Erie. So we've talked a lot about customer experience, and that comes with a lot of things, and you've talked about transportation and making it easier for people to get here. I think one of the unique things Niagara offers relative to, the question about other places we travel to in the world is you have such a diversified offering here for experience, whether it's culinary, wineries, golf courses, beaches, trail systems, and natural beauty that in a lot of tourist areas, the natural part gets overdeveloped and doesn't become part of the attraction. So I guess the question is, how do we come together as a group to ensure that we provide the best customer experience that we can when people come here, where they spend money, they leave here, and they just can't wait to get back. And so I guess it's from, you know, post-secondary training in culinary, keeping our post-secondary supported as far as training for whether it's customer service, hospitality, winery, distilleries, all the things that we have to offer. What is that recipe that we need to monopolize on all the gifts that we have here that will attract the world?
Someone wants to weigh in first on this one. I do want to acknowledge, so Niagara College is here today. I want to applaud them for bringing back the chef apprentice program at the college, but we have a real gem here in Niagara College. From college writ large, but the culinary and hospitality program, including the wine, beer, and spirits program, all top drawer, and that's the kind of thing, again, we're talking about that international export side of it. But in terms of weighing in on customer experience, okay, or yeah, go ahead, Anne-Marie, first.
Okay. Years ago, I used to work in Toronto, and Toronto had an interesting. They were in a period of transition, and Toronto didn't want tourism. They were knocking down tourism, and they didn't want tourism. But the tourism stakeholders got together and they created an ambassador program. And this ambassador program was cheerleading tourism. And it created this energy, and it created this synergy, and it created this hype that it was no longer tourism was getting knocked down. Tourism was being elevated and tourism was being shined because we were showcasing in the destination of Toronto and highlighting the people, right? The human aspect of things, the people that are the ones that are welcoming these people. And it could be a retail store, it could be a corner store, it could be a gas attendant. It was the people, it was the community. So building that sense of community, I think, if we all are aligned and we break down these barriers that we've built ourselves as a community from one region to another within the community, and we're all one and we're all singing to the same songbook, it just comes naturally. But it needs fostering, and it needs alignment, and it needs cheerleading, because if we within the tourism industry are only cheerleading it, we need everybody else. We need the community, because the entire community is impacted by tourism.
I'd probably say two things I think are important in this. One is the alignment of tourism, tech, and academia. I think those three pillars need to come together to solve this long term. And then the other part, I think, is something that we've now talked about on the panel for a few minutes in a couple of conversations, and that's what I would call intentional collaboration, and that is, David talked about it on these itineraries, the intentional collaboration between tourism operators. If you think about where we're trying to get to with a 3-4 day length of stay in the community, there's not one single operator who can fill that itinerary. That means we do need to come together as a community to be able to have a 3-4 day experience. And ideally, people leave Niagara going, I wish I had another day, which drives the return visit. So I think those are the two pillars that I would say specifically to that.
Lindsay, on the customer service side?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also the customer is changing. Gone are the days of glossy magazine covers and staged ads. People want authentic experiences, right? And you need to put those local experiences in there, put those hidden gems in there. I mean, social media is now used as a search engine for planning trips. People don't want the staged photo. They want an interview with the chef behind the scene to find that hidden gem, or to find the best beaches, or whatever is off the beaten path, to create that authentic experience. So in doing that, that's where we all come together to extend that stay, to showcase those authentic, those curated experiences that really resonate with people and make them want to be a part of it.
I like
by tourism.
Tim's word about intentional as well. So I think it's an intentional leadership opportunity/issue that we as leaders need to be intentional about communicating the importance of customer service. We all remember those great experiences we've had on our trips wherever around the world or locally, but we also remember the bad experiences. Unfortunately, the bad experiences get echoed far more than the good experiences. So it is a leadership opportunity to invest in training, invest in our staff at all levels, and we have to model the behavior as well. We model the customer service. So it's I think a really important point. And tourism is so competitive, and we think about international destinations that are doubling down on customer service training, investing in the guest experience. We need to match that. I think that's what the Destination Niagara strategy is all about. Another question?
Thank you. Yes. I'm sure we can all agree that tourism done well really expands the local ecosystem, expands local infrastructure in a way that is really beneficial to an area. And my question for you, Minister Cho, is does the government have a plan for investing some of that money? I mean, we're here at this event where there are so many strong Canadian tourism tech companies. Do you have a plan for directing that investment towards Canadian suppliers to help grow that ecosystem globally?
Yeah, no, it's a hugely important question given the timing of this tariff war that we're facing, right? And I think the Premier, to his credit, has been out in front of this from the very beginning. Look, and I can't sugarcoat this. These are uncertain times still, right? I mean, you have a president that at any given moment could go out there onto social media and say something on a whim that will move markets trillions of dollars and create uncertainty across various industries. I'll never forget May 4th of 2025. It was a Sunday. I had just got home from tour. I promised my wife no work that day. And I put my phone down around 3 p.m. Wouldn't you know it, within an hour, the thing was just buzzing way more than usual. And yeah, well, guess what? I had to look at the phone, and Donald Trump had gone out there and put out a post on X or Truth Social or whatever the heck it is about the film industry and how he's going to tariff us. Now, I don't know what that means when you tariff a film industry, DVDs, or I mean, what that means. But the point is, it sent the industry into a total frenzy in the next. Well, I still haven't gotten out of the doghouse, to be clear, from that day. But really, what that did was it sent the entire film and television industry, a huge industry in Ontario, into a frenzy. That's something that's taken very seriously here. So, I mean, when you're looking at Canadian supply chains, specifically local supply chains, yes, this government's very serious about it. We were the first to say no more intra-provincial trade barriers. Let's open up new trade partners. We're not quite there, but we have other barriers that we could use a hand with. It's Quebec. Very frankly, that's in the way of removing these trade barriers. We're looking at reforming ancient procurement systems within government. And there's, if anybody watches The Simpsons, I don't know, I might be dating myself, there's a word that Homer Simpson uses called crisitunity. Two people laugh, so okay, you watch. But it means that out of crisis comes opportunity, and I think that the pandemic was good for this type of adaptation, right? It forced government to be quicker, more nimble, and to look at supply chains. So has this tariff war. What do I mean by that? I mean, there are certain procurement rules that make absolutely no sense. If you'll indulge me, I'll give a quick example. Prior to all of this crisis, if you were hurt in, let's say, Aurelia, and an Aurelia EMS showed up and said, you need an intravenous needle and you need to be flown to St. Mike's, they would put a needle in your arm, and when Orange Air Ambulance would come to pick you up, they would take out the needle and put in a new needle, not because you needed it, but because Orange Air Ambulance and Aurelia EMS purchased from different suppliers. And when you got to Toronto General, they would do the same thing with a third needle for the same reason. Those are the types of procurement rules that we were forced to change as a result of the pandemic and the need to adapt quickly. The tariff war is forcing us to do the same, to look towards new opportunities. Now, is it easy? No, not all the time. We have supply chain challenges that are long rooted with our close relationship with the United States. That doesn't mean we're not trying. We're opening up new trade partners. We're working with Europe. We're working with Asia. Those things take some time, and it's a long answer to your question of saying we're committed to that. We're absolutely going to keep going on that, and it takes a private partner assistance in that, in helping us look for those new opportunities as well. Because let's also remember that when Donald Trump is gone from office, we are confident that those relationships with our American neighbors will return, but that doesn't mean we can't look for those new partnerships.
And if I can add, because we've got a great group in the room here today, we can help each other. So I'll give you some examples. If you're a restaurant owner, are you carrying Niagara wine? Are you working with Niagara farmers and purveyors? You know,
Niagara Parks is a great example of that. I saw only Niagara offerings in your restaurants, which was a great thing to see.
So at Niagara Parks, we're Feast On certified through the Culinary Tourism Alliance to support Ontario purveyors. So we only carry Niagara VQA wine. Over 40 Niagara wineries, about 70 of their wines. That's what we do. I think working with the Chambers of Commerce, the local destination marketing organizations, making sure that they know what your business offers as well, so that make connections to others. But think about your own supply chain. Lindsay mentioned earlier that you use local suppliers to do your renovations recently. The adaptive reuse here at the Niagara Parks Power Station, we used over 70 subcontractors in this project. Vast majority were Niagara-based, or certainly Southern Ontario-based. So there's little examples, but again, that's deliberate leadership that we need to be thinking and be mindful of who our suppliers are and support local. And locals should be able to price better because they don't have to travel as far to do some of that work. I think this gentleman has a question here, Dan.
Hi, since we're showing the wine industry a little love right now, I thought it was the perfect time to stand. I'm a professor at the School of Wine, Beer and Spirits at Niagara College. Thank you for your kind comments and for the great support that you're advocating for our industry. When I travel wine regions around the world, as I'm traveling through the wine regions, I have opportunities for very high quality dining and very high quality boutique accommodation in the midst of the wine regions. I don't have to travel 30 minutes to get to a nice hotel or a good restaurant. We're already seeing the development of great Michelin-starred restaurants in Niagara Wine Country. But we don't see the boutique hotels yet. And part of that, perhaps, is the great efforts and work of the other amazing political body, the Green Belt, and the Escarpment Commission, who do an incredible job of preserving UNESCO World Heritage beauty, natural beauty, but also make it very difficult for the development, perhaps, of some of these boutique accommodations and high quality sort of infrastructure developments in Niagara Wine Country. What role do the Green Belt and Escarpment play in helping us to realize these dreams that we have for 5 and 10 years ahead?
I'm glad we got a question from Niagara College. It gives me a chance to ask Mabel, who's here. I need 6 tickets to Caps, Corks, and Forks. My whole family wants to come. The word's gotten out about this event, so I could talk to you after. I just thought I'd put it on the camera so that it's a little awkward for you. Look, I'm really pleased at the hard work that the Escarpment, the Commission, these do important work, right? You have to protect the natural beauty of the region. It's why we can brag about this place as being the gem that it is. We also have to have reasonable development, right? We're talking about expanding a region. You're talking about, and what you're touching on here is an absolute, hugely important issue, which is access to accommodation. You're talking about doubling visitation to the region from 13 million to 26 million. Well, where are they going to stay? I think there's a shortage, especially outside of your traditional tourist areas like here, and there's some new developments coming to Niagara-on-the-Lake. But man, when I visit Port Colborne, I've got to drive to St. Catharines to stay anywhere. I mean, it's a long enough drive, and the capacity issues are very real. So I think what we need to do is introduce reasonable legislation. Bill 5, aims to speed up some of the processes without sacrificing any of the environmental protections. And of course, we need to be reasonable about these things to the point where we need to build, protect the beauty that made this place what it is, and also be able to protect that for generations to come. It's a nuance, there's no doubt about it, and you will have those. We all know those neighbors, right? You know, I have neighbors who think that their house is built on concrete from 300 years ago. It's not the case. You know, but that doesn't give a reason to say we can't be reasonable about that development. That's what the legislation aims to strike, a balance, and I know Minister Flack will be out with the details around the regulations on that soon. But it's an excellent point. There's a balance to be struck, and we'll do our best to strike it.
So I'm mindful of our time and of our guest time, so I'm going to bring the panel to a close in a moment. But I want you to leave today thinking about what can you do to contribute to the Destination Niagara strategy, to connect with other operators, to make those connections on the business opportunity side. There are many. So we talked about creating those multi-day itineraries. We talked about thinking about our supply chain. We talked about creating those great guest experiences that will resonate with international visitors. Thinking about the multi-day visits, positioning Niagara internationally, thinking about business events and how they will propel the leisure tourism side as well. We have a tremendous advocate in Minister Cho at Queen's Park, and also a tremendous advocate with our local member of provincial parliament and also Associate Minister of Energy, Sam Mooserhoff. So I know they'll have to move on to another event shortly. We are here for some additional networking. I know for what Dan will say as well as food and beverage is opening up as well. Please see the entrepreneurs who are here. We talked earlier about how tough entrepreneurship is, so we have folks here who do want to connect with you. But please join me in thanking Anne-Marie Natsopoulos, Tim Oldfield, Lindsay DeCosmo, and Minister Stan Cho.
Yes, thank you, David.
Right. All right, folks. That concludes today's panel discussion. The venue is open right now if you'd like for some more networking, some food and beverage, all locally curated by Niagara Parks. And there is a light show and tours of the Niagara Parks Power Station. Please indulge in those. But one more round of applause for our amazing panelists, Minister Stan Cho, Lindsay DeCosmo, Tim Oldfield, Anne-Marie Natsopoulos, and of course, an amazing moderator today, Mr. David Adames. Round of applause, everybody. We encourage you guys to please spend the evening here, like I said. And one thing that we want to make sure is please vote for your favorites startup here by using the QR code on your back. And please return your name badge for your parking pass, okay? We're a nonprofit, so these name tags are quite expensive for us. So please return them. You get free parking at the registration desk at the front. Thank you guys so much from all of us partners here, Niagara Falls Innovation Hub, Niagara Parks, Tourism Partnership Niagara, City of Niagara Falls, the Ontario government, and all of you guys. We thank you guys so much. We look forward to the next one.